Hello, everyone. This is Patrick Russell, class of '89, Blue Jay, and welcome to the episode 4 of the We Want More Vodcast.
Winds up, big scores another one for Hopkins.
The test was just called it right in there. Shot the goal right out in front. The Blue Jays
does not wear a brace. Never has shown any adverse effects. Harrison with it. Big shot. Scores! Kyle Harrison goes high. That's it. It's over. Johns Hopkins has won its ninth national championship.
Pete, good morning. And thanks for joining us again for episode 4 of the We Want More podcast. We're coming off a rivalry game, although it seems like every game's a rivalry game. A win Saturday at Homewood versus our Charles Street neighbor, Loyola University of Maryland and the Greyhounds. Pete, big win against a rival. Tell us what you thought.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate that and you being here with us. I thought it was a good battle. It was back and forth. Tough team, very well coached. I'd give them that coaching staff a lot of credit for the way that they run that program. Those guys are always difficult. We were able to find a little bit more in the fourth quarter and separate the game a bit, but it was back and forth pretty much the whole way through. It was rough and there was some physicality in the game. It was hotly contested, which you get from rivalries. There was a great atmosphere at Homewood. They bring a ton of fans always. They're screaming and yelling the whole game and kind of really brings the stadium to life. And it was fun day, fun atmosphere, but more importantly, guys did the right things and came away with the win. So it was a really great day overall.
Good. Watched your post-game interview right on the field, and you did make some comments. I'd like to sort of touch upon that. I would use this word frenetic. That first half was a very frenetic pace for both teams. Loyola committed a lot of turnovers, yet after one quarter, it's 1-1. Your thoughts about the first quarter, the first half, and not really taking advantage of the fact that it was still 1-1 after one quarter when Loyola was literally throwing the ball away. Mm-hmm. Something that frustrated you?
Yeah, I mean, I thought, we started out well defensively, which was a great sign. And I thought we, for the most part, we're playing great defense throughout, forcing them into tough spots. I think we were making mistakes in areas that we had targeted as priorities for us, some of their transition and early offense, the substitution stuff. But I think more importantly to what you're asking, we just didn't take advantage of those turnovers, those opportunities as well as we needed to. We were not playing clean offense. We were not taking care of the ball. The pace I would agree was frenetic, but I would probably categorize it more as sloppy from my perspective than anything else. Like it wasn't sharp. It was not a pretty game of lacrosse, but that's all right. I don't want the guys to get too caught up in aesthetics or anything like that. We want to execute. We want to take care of the ball, but at the end of the day, we want to make one more play than them and find a way to get to a W. So if we did that, that shows growth. But we need to be sharper certainly to start the game.
As you know, it's coach speak, right? You want to play a full 4 quarters, a full 60 minutes. Mm-hmm. What's nice is that the team came on strong in the fourth quarter. I mean, things started offensively being put together and offense was clicking, goals were being scored. This was a struggle more in the first half. Having said that, the defense played fantastic. You've had a number of games now in a row where we're holding the opponent to under 10 goals. And I think the way the game's played today, holding a team under 10 goals is pretty phenomenal. So defensively, team looks strong.
Yeah, I would say that the defense as a whole was excellent on Saturday. A few transition substitution situations that didn't go that well. We got scored on once on man down, but they were 1 of 7, and I thought that was a great stand for our man down defense. And I think we gave up 2 6-on-6 goals. I mean, there was a couple again that were in substitution. We may have had 6 guys in there, but we're still subbing no midi out and whatnot. But when we got our 6 defensive guys on there and played a settled half field defense, I didn't think that we were giving much up, and I thought that was a great sign. for what our defense can do. I thought that was a veteran offense and pretty opportunistic one. So I was really proud of the guys for that.
Great. Getting back to the offense and getting them to click, figuring out units and who works well together. It looks like we're getting Russell to start to click. Russ Melendez is starting to click and, get into a flow. Talk about Russell's game a little bit.
He's also one that I think, even to what you're alluding to, like, that flow is, I think, really valuable for him to find some, consistency in the way he's playing, the way he's moving, and what he's looking for. Coaches, Crawley's offense is so much predicated on matchups and finding those and continuing to attack those advantages once you create them. And I think, sometimes it's easy for, Russ or, certain guys just to kind of get lost in it because there's a lot of things going on. And I think Russ has been really conscious to not over assert himself to, force things or do too much. And, I think he's such a good player and he's such a good teammate that, even maybe some urging required to get him to be a little bit more assertive because he can, really dominate matchups and do those things. And I think he's been doing a good job sharing the ball. He's been doing a good job, moving and finding his shots. Got a couple good ones off that were saved, and he finds his spots. We just got to keep working together and keep the game fundamental.
Sure. Getting back to this vodcast, intended as sort of a wrap up of the previous weekend's games, hosted by an alum for alums. So our audience isn't just alums, but it was intended for a lot of our alums who are former Blue Jays. So I'm not trying to make this a how-to vodcast for those people who watch, but can you talk about offense today in general with the Blue Jays and across other teams? What I've noticed is offensively, we tend to move east-west now with a lot of picks and throwbacks. Old schoolers will think about dodging from up top, right? Or dodging from behind. Everything's north-south. But it's interesting offensively in lacrosse today, and I know you incorporate a lot of box into the team's offense, but a lot of it is east-west, picks, throwbacks. That, could you just touch upon that briefly?
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong in that. There's a lot of cycles to the way things go, like trends and how they develop, and as offense in general across the country continues to evolve. Right now I think there's a lot of picks to the way we play, and I think that's creating matchup changes. It's creating opportunities to attack the net, stress the defense, draw some slides. I think defenses are a different animal right now with the way that they play, the way that they communicate and flow through their defensive systems. That I don't think that there's that it's unnecessary to attack north south or directly to the net, but sometimes it's going to take a little bit more work than the dodge, draw, slide, and find the opening. I think there's a lot of field flips from east to west. I think there's, a point of emphasis on getting the ball from one side to the other and not just necessarily top down or bottom up. And, as you alluded to, box concepts. I mean, that's one of the biggest ones in box is getting the ball side to side and moving the goalie pipe to pipe. Your productivity in finding off ball shots and succeeding in those off ball shooting opportunities is greatly enhanced when you're moving the goalie from pipe to pipe. And so sometimes it's a little bit more about beating a goalie than a defense and forcing them to rotate multiple times and not just lose an on-ball matchup. So sometimes it can be overkill if you're doing a little bit too much of it. Sometimes there's a benefit just going right back to the basics and get the ball top middle and attack the net, force them to stop you. But I think one of the things you'll notice a lot is how aggressive our guys are in seeking out matchup changes. And I think they do a good job of that. Coach is really stressing that. And, when Jacob Angelos has a short stick, it's a much tougher cover for the other team. And if we can do that consistently, if we can get Russell short sticks, I think it gives us a chance to score without, having to run through, multiple different, motions and sets.
Right. That's good to know. And again, the intent is not to make this a how-to video, but
Sure.
It's interesting when you watch the game for a long time or grow into the game a long time and you see how things have changed. Another point I wanted to make is the shot clock, right? We didn't really have the shot clock many, many years ago. A question for you. What's the philosophy? And again, this is based on watching 4 games so far this season, on when the shot clock expires and you don't score or you don't get a great shot off. I mean, a lot of times you will get a shot off. What's your mentality on, I guess, maybe not taking the bad shot, and then the clock expires?
Sure, and I think even just the way you said that is probably the first place you'd start, is that a bad shot can equal a turnover for the most part. And so when you're late in the clock, you have to maybe force something. And if you're going to take something that's not a high percentage opportunity, you may end up giving yourself a bad defensive transition situation. So sometimes dumping it in the corner and setting up in a ride, getting your defensive personnel on, but giving yourself a chance to chase it down and turn it over can help you. There are also some probably do's and don'ts when you get to the low end of the shot clock. Like I think we're better with the ball above the net at a low shot clock, because we're going to end up shooting it towards the end line. If you end up with a ball behind the net and you miss a feed or something like that, sometimes the ball rolls to the midline and then you give them an extra 40 yards that you don't need to. So I think it sometimes plays into kind of the east-west thing instead of the north-south.
Sure.
So if you get it wide and you can go horizontal, you can still try and get to the goal and get a shot off. But, if you don't generate a great one or make the goalie, force a save, then, you don't want to just take a shot to shoot it and then he catches it and throws it right back over your head. So the only defensive benefit at that point is that they know you have to shoot the ball. And so they know in the next few seconds something's coming, and so they can kind of prep for that. You'll see D guys start to leak out and stuff like that.
Sure. So there you go, Pete. You and I had a conversation prior to going on air here. Maybe answering some of these questions avoids the Monday morning armchair quarterback calls that you get there at the Cordish Center.
I don't mind it.
I'm doing you a favor.
Yeah.
Couple things. Specialty positions. Chase is finding a groove. He was making some great saves, a lot of them off hip. Also very good at the outlet pass. So he's starting to get into a groove. Agreed? At the goal?
Yeah. Chase is he's been pretty consistent so far. Defense is, I think, giving him better shots to see. He didn't see a high volume of shots on goal. I don't know if they only had a dozen and a half shots on net, something like that. He's saving the ball at 55 to 60%, which I think is pretty good. And giving us a chance in a lot of situations. I mean, he's veteran goalie. He's got good experience. He handles the ball well. He's making good calls. He learned the defense pretty well, right away. But as in any scenario, our job on defense is to, at the very least, give him shots he can handle, and not let them pile it up right on top of him. And that's going to be a tough situation. So they are starting to get on the same page and do those things well. But we're, going to be tested with a new offense every week, and some of them are as good as it gets. So we'll see how that continues to develop.
Okay, great. Staying on specialty positions, it was good to see Tyler Dunn get out there to take some face-offs. As we mentioned in a previous vodcast, sometimes it's all about certain players react differently to the opposing face-off man, and Tyler had a great game on Saturday.
Yeah, not surprising. Tyler is a veteran, and he's played a ton of lacrosse here, and done a great job for us. It's so much matchup oriented, and honestly, a lot of it is adjusting to the referees and their cadence as well. And sometimes that is tricky for certain guys, and we've seen it with our opponents at times. And I think Tyler, found a rhythm with the whistles and with his ability to challenge the loose balls, the draw on the whistle and things like that. But there was really no surprise. I mean, he's pretty steady in those situations throughout his career. Gets a chance to go in, and he jumps right into action.
Yeah, fantastic. And just a little side note, Tyler Dunn is a legacy at Hopkins. Many folks don't know this, but we have a perennial running power at Johns Hopkins in cross country and track. And his grandfather, Jay, was a longtime assistant coach at Johns Hopkins in track and cross country. and quite a runner himself back in the day.
Yeah, that's
So
a great program. They're winning
little,
championships. It seems like every time you go to a staff meeting, they won another championship. So they're doing a great
shout
job.
out to the Dunn family and Tyler's grandfather, Jay. One last position I'd like to talk about. Please tell me that you do or you do not get nervous, and Coach Kester as well, when Brett Martin goes over the head for a check. I've now noticed that Brett Martin has successfully gone over the head with a short stick pole to strip the ball. It was a beauty against Loyola, but does that make you nervous when you see your SSDM go over the head?
Yes, not subtly. Yes, it makes me very nervous. I am very uncomfortable watching him do it. I have a lot of faith in Brett. He is as good of a short stick as there is. I love his motor. I love the way he competes. He's as tough as they come. He has made enormous plays in his career doing that and being aggressive that way. It is aligning with the way Coach runs things defensively, but it is always going to make me nervous when a short stick goes over the head and in those situations. But he is an athlete and he finds a way to pull it off most times. So
fun to watch, but it does make you nervous. If you watch the Loyola replay, it was almost like he unchecked the ball and got it in his cross all in the same motion. There was no
it was that fast.
Yeah.
He was already basically over the head and on his way up the field. Yeah.
Great. So some fun stuff here as we kind of close out. I was also noting brothers, fathers, legacies who've played this great game of lacrosse at Johns Hopkins. We've had so many siblings. We currently have 2 siblings on the team, the Martin brothers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Chavettes.
Mm-hmm. Both seniors and freshmen.
Yeah. And then, of course, we have Ryan Evans and his cousin, Worry, who come from Hopkins legacies, obviously the grandchild of Joe Cowan. And then Ryan, of course, his dad, Dan Evans, was a great defensive midi in the 90s for Hopkins. Mm-hmm. So it's always good to see that. We've had so many great siblings that have played at Johns Hopkins, the Stanwicks, the Schnecks, the Ciccarone brothers, 4 of them.
Mm-hmm. The Kellys,
the Dressels, the Kellys, the Denehans.
There's a ton.
So a shout out to the brother tandems on the team, the Martins and the Chavettes this year. Also, one of the things I wanted to mention is I heard it from some of our folks who, when I mentioned the 40th and 50th anniversary of the 74 and 84 teams, of course, I heard from the 79ers. We need to acknowledge that the 1979 team will be celebrating their 45th anniversary of a national championship over Maryland. So those of you who commented, we're acknowledging you here in episode 4. I'd like to
glad you're here to field those too.
Exactly. I'd also like to add, as anyone watches, please comment in the Vodcast about things you want us to talk about or discuss in our next episode. Lastly, another thing I thought that was really, really cool, we never did this back in our day, is I noticed that the team lines up and listens to the ode to Johns Hopkins from the pep band as they exit the field. I think that's a nice tradition that you have going there at Hopkins.
Yeah, there's a million traditions here that just they have so much depth and so much meaning, and that's a really special experience when you after a game they do the bananas and then the band plays a song and the guys line up there and just kind of pay their respects and thank the fans and the band and everything like that. So I really enjoy that. I think that's a cool part.
It's a nice touch. You see it a lot in Division I football, and I think it's a great new tradition there at Hopkins. All right, so Pete, you have the Tar Heels of Carolina coming up. That game will be 12 noon on the ACC network, I think, which is part of ESPN. A few quick words about going down to play Carolina, what you expect to see.
I mean, they're a really good team. They're obviously going to be well coached. They've had our number the last couple of years, so I think this is one that outside of a couple members of the coaching staff, I don't know if anybody's beaten the Tar Heels on our current roster. So I think there's definitely an added motivation to that. This is going to start a road trip with 3 games on the road in 3 weeks. All ACC teams. This will be a tough stretch. We're just trying to stay focused on one thing at a time, make one play at a time, attack the opening whistle, and continue to build from there. But they're gonna be very good. They are. It's a loaded roster, and Coach Butchmal on the defensive end. They got a new offensive coordinator as well. Coach Bresci's been doing this forever and is great at that. So this we're gonna have our hands full for sure.
Good. Well, again, 12 noon Saturday at North Carolina. Pete, thanks again for your time. I know you're really busy and appreciate that you do this for us.
For sure. Enjoy it. Thank you very much.